Welcome everybody to our second edition of our football show, Sideline To Speedway. I'm your host, as usual, Mekhi Winfrey, joined by Parker Merrey here over the camera call. Parker, we had a very, very interesting weekend of football that happened, both NFL and college. Lots of storylines. Um, I'm sure we both want to get to the NFL, especially first week of the season. Lots of energy high for some teams, lots of energy low for some teams. But do you have any thoughts before we kind of get into here?
Yeah, it was a big weekend. A lot of big divisional matchups. A lot of talk with the Micah Parsons trade, how that would affect some teams, and I think we definitely saw a lot of effects. With moves like that happened in this first week. So yeah, very entertaining first week, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to talk about it.
So I'm not going to waste too much time. We'll go into the Thursday night game to start. Um, I actually don't have much to comment on this. I know that like you would think, oh, season opening kickoff, there would be a lot to talk about, right? I just don't have much to say on that Eagles Cowboys game. 24-20, Eagles take the W. I think most rational people had that result happening. Did you see anything really worth noting? I mean, there was the whole Jalen Carter spit thing on Dak Prescott. I have no clue what's going
Yeah,
on there, but.
that was something. That's the kind of character that Jalen Carter is. I mean, the Eagles took a risk on a player like that, and he's a fantastic football player. He's shown it for them. He won them the Rams game last year, but then you have scenarios like this where he almost cost them the game because of getting himself kicked out by spitting on Dak Prescott. Now I don't know if you saw the angle where Dak spit first. And Dax tried to say, "Oh, I was just spitting." Like he knew what he was doing. He knew exactly. He didn't
He's
spit on him, but he spit towards his direction.
poking a bear. I almost spit
Yeah, he
myself.
was poking a bear. And you know what they say in the NFL? They always get the second person. And Jalen Carter was the second person to spit. He spit right on Dak, and they got him. So, but I want to put a lot of respect on Jalen Hurts for that game. I think he always plays so smooth and so solid. And on that third down at the end of the game that they had to have to seal it, he just runs it right up the middle, gets the first. That's just a great play, just great management all day. Jalen Hurts deserves the respect that some people give him and some people don't.
I'd like to say I think that receiving core, and honestly, I mean, aside from maybe Barkley, that team as a whole offensively was just missing all game. AJ Brown score. I don't know. I'm not a fantasy guru, but I think 1.1 fantasy points is criminal for
Yeah, yeah.
fantasy owners who think very highly of him. He didn't have a great game. He had one catch. Devontae Smith had a couple catches, nothing to write home about. Offense scares me a little bit. Their defensive backs especially scare me a little bit. That hole that I thought they needed to fill effectively seemed like it was still a little bit open. So I think that's worth mentioning. But Eagles still pull out the W. Cowboys defense looks lost on the field at times. Although their offense for the first half of that game was kind of cooking, so I'll give CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, and those boys some respect because they did start the game pretty well offensively. I mean, I don't know if you have anything to disagree with there. I mean, it was a pretty tame first game of the season.
Yeah, it's I was impressed by the Cowboys' run defense being able to stop Barkley like they did. I was kind of worried about how they would do, but it looks like getting Kenny Clark helped the inside run defense. And CeeDee Lamb, man, those crucial drops, that ended up really costing them the game. So it's unfortunate to see your best player, have stuff like that happen. But yeah, that's about it for that game. And then we take a look at the Friday night game in Brazil between the Chargers and the Chiefs. One of the most fun games of the weekend to watch. What are your thoughts on that?
I think, honestly, I know Chargers fans, the 10 of them there, the NFL faithful who hate on the Chiefs. I know everyone's talking about the Chiefs. Nobody's talking about how the Chargers won this game. Herbert threw 350 yards. Was it four touchdowns? Or three touchdowns. He had a great game. Chargers offense. Quentin Johnston took a big step up this year. Lad McConkey was good again. It looked like a really, really good game from a Chargers offense that needed a pass-heavy team to balance out with their run. Um, but more of the talk is on the Chiefs mainly because their defense looked incredibly bad, especially against the pass. They looked like they were in no man's land at times. Um, and I also think there's concerns on the offense because other than Patrick Mahomes, Xavier Worthy got taken out by his own teammate, Travis Kelce. Uh, his passes are getting batted by offensive linemen over the B gap. I mean, like there's just so many problems on that offense and defense. I'm sure they will be fine, but that's an alarm bell going off in my head.
Yeah, it's been 4 years since we've seen the Chiefs get off to this bad of a start. You think of, the 2021 season where they started off, also getting beat by the Chargers early on in the year, first couple games. That was the last time the Chargers had actually beaten the Chiefs. So we really haven't seen a slow start like this from the Chiefs. Um,
That year
but
they
I
missed the play.
think,
That year they missed the Super Bowl, by the way, so we can remain hopeful.
yeah, yeah, that was the one year that they lost to somebody in the playoffs, and it was, or at least someone on the AFC side losing to Joe Burrow. But it was the Chiefs they didn't play great, but I think more than it, I think the story of this game should be the gutsiness by the Chargers. That was one of the most gutsy performances I've seen from just, when you play a team like the Chiefs, you have to go outside your comfort zone to beat them. A lot of teams don't do it. You know what I mean? A lot of teams stick to their guns. They say, we're going to do what we're best at. The Chargers, they got aggressive. And at the end of the game, on that third and long, they could have easily just ran it up the middle and punted the ball back. But instead, they put the ball in Herbert's hands, let him do his thing. Nothing was open downfield. He took off and ran and got the game-ending first down. I just thought that was a really impressive game from Herbert and the Chargers. And in my opinion, I don't think there's any quarterback in the NFL that this year is more important to than Justin Herbert. If he wants to prove that he's an elite quarterback, this needs to be the year that he wins that division and beats the Chiefs. And he's one step closer with that week 1 victory.
I think there's a quarterback that has to prove more, but I'll get to them in a second. Yeah, I think that was also just a really fantastic coaching performance from Jim Harbaugh. Um, you could argue he's better than his brother. I know after we get to Sunday night, there's going to be some conversations about that. But yeah, I mean, Harbaugh just another great coaching performance. Honestly, outcoached Andy Reid tonight, or not tonight, but you know what I mean. He outcoached Andy Reid. So, um, yeah, I think that was just a good performance from the Chargers. But another good performance we saw, Daniel Jones. So I spent last week arguing you that, oh, why is Daniel Jones a starter? They should have picked Anthony Richardson. I look like a dumbass, excuse my language. I look like a bit of an idiot.
Uh,
Why why did he perform? Anyway, Colts win 33-8 over the Dolphins. I should, by the way, go back and note Chargers beat the Chiefs 27-21, but Colts beat the Dolphins 33-8, and honestly, it should have been 33-0. A kind of garbage time touchdown from the Dolphins. It was basically a shutout. So, I mean, what do you think of what do they call him? Indiana Jones now? Yeah, what do you think of him?
I haven't heard that before. I've not. That is
I heard
awesome.
Indiana Jones a couple times.
I can't believe I haven't heard that yet. But no, yeah, I think it was a really good performance. I think the Colts, we were kind of talking about it last week. They're a pretty slept on team. They have a pretty good defense, and they showed it. They completely destroyed the Dolphins. And so, yeah, I was really impressed by that. Daniel Jones put together a good game. But I think more of the storyline in this game should be just how bad the Dolphins were. It seems to me like the Mike McDaniel era was just a one-time fluke. You know what I mean? They had a good offense with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They were able to use that speed to attack deep down defenses, and it has not been working these last years. And this first game, just nothing was going right. Tua doesn't like Tua's taking a big risk playing football right now. He's already had multiple injuries. And so I think that if the Dolphins are not going to be good, he's going to consider retirement because what's the point of him playing? He's risking his life
And the
for
Dolphins will move on
right now a
because
bad team.
why are the Dolphins going to stick on a quarterback that has health issues and they're just not competing and they can get a
Yeah,
quarterback in a quarterback
that
heavy
too.
draft
I
class?
just there's so much wrong with that team. McDaniel has seemed to have lost it. Tyreek Hill is so frustrated.
He wants to go
And
back to
Tua,
Kansas City. It's very evident. That's what he wants to do.
yeah, I mean, we already saw last year after the Jets game in Week 18, Tyreek Hill was saying he's leaving. So that team's a mess. I would not want to be a Dolphins fan right now. They could be one of the worst teams in the NFL this year, and they could be competing for the number one pick for all we know. But let's take a look at another game: the Cardinals and the Saints. I think we both kind of expected the Cardinals to take the dub in that one, but a little bit of close game. Saints were able to keep it
Believe
close.
believe it or not, I actually didn't have the Saints. I didn't have the Cardinals winning this game, and the only reason I said that is not because I think the Saints are better. It's because the Saints had a streak from 2019, I think it was. It was like a 6 or 7 year
Yeah, it was
streak.
6 years of
Um,
winning the opening game.
yeah, winning the opening week game. So Cardinals break their streak. I mean, if there's any year the Saints were gonna lose, this would
Yeah,
be this would be the year.
yeah,
So good to the Cardinals, 20-13 win. Nothing much to write home about. That Will Johnson hit on Chris Olave in the backfield was rough. He laid him out.
yeah.
Um, I don't know if you caught much of that game. I did. I got to see a lot of it. Will Johnson, by the way, fantastic talent. Looked great in his
Oh yeah,
debut.
absolutely.
Spencer Rattler actually didn't even play that bad. I know that the Saints fans will be calling for his head by week 3, but he honestly didn't even play that bad. So good start for him to the start of the season. Although they come up with a loss.
Hmm.
Um, Another game that was really interesting this weekend that I wanted to hit on for a minute here. Um, Bucks Falcons had the most boring first half to a thriller final 3 minutes I've ever seen.
Yeah,
We were
that
what were
was.
they? The Falcons were down 17-13, I think it was, right? Um,
They're down 4.
yeah, they were down 4, needed a touchdown. I want to touch on Michael Penix real quick. I know the Falcons lost 23-20, but he showed out. He really performed well that game. Michael Penix is here because that was a. I know the box score may not show that he was fantastic, but he was one of the best quarterbacks this weekend. Honestly, he was running. He was good on the pass. He was making plays with his feet when he needed to. Um, I mean that diving for the pylon touchdown that should have been a touchdown or shouldn't have been, whatever you want to call it. Uh, Again, great play from Penix. Got them in the end zone. 20 to they had a tied game. Then Bucks, I think it was a minute 50 on the clock or something, close to that, right? Uh, Drive down the field. Baker throws it to Igbuka 25 yards into the end zone. They take or excuse me, they weren't tied, but they now Bucks go up back by 3, 23-20 game because they missed the PAT. This is important because then at the end of the game, Falcons are in minute drill and they do a great job, honestly, a fantastic job getting all the way down the field and trying to make the play. And then Young Wei excuse me, goes to make this kick, 44 yards, shanks it right to the left, I think it was. Just uncharacteristic from them. That would have put them, that would have sent them to overtime, but
Yeah.
Bucks end up hanging on. I thought that was a fantastic game.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was one of my favorite games of the week. And those two teams, they just always seem to bring it. We saw some fantastic games last year. The Kirk Cousins 500-yard passing game. We've just seen a lot of great moments between those two, and I think they're two pretty evenly matched football teams. Honestly, I think the Bucks are a little bit more well-rounded, but the Falcons could give them a run for their money this year in the division, and their opening week performance certainly was indicative of that. So it should be a good battle throughout the year for that division. So yeah, interested to see how that plays out.
I want to go back to. I know we passed by them already. I want to hit on one more detail or a few more details on that Colts game real quick. There's a few records and stats that I need to shout out here because if we're talking about how good Daniel Jones performed, not only was he the first quarterback since Peyton Manning for that team to lead 4 straight scoring drives at the start of the game. 2006 Peyton Manning, by the way. Uh, he's the first. That is the first time in Colts history, and the first time I think since 1978 in general that a team won every single possession with a score, every single one. And the best part of all this is the first Colts Week 1 win since 2013. It's been 12 years.
I don't know. I don't know if I believe that stat
No,
of scoring
really,
your possession.
no, it's true.
Hmm.
That's what
Interesting.
you look it up. That's what they were saying it on the broadcast. It was floating around. It's a pretty impressive stat, honestly.
It's interesting because there's been a couple games recently where there's been.
It feels like they have, but I feel like they had like a 3 and out at somewhere, but mostly I don't know. Maybe I'm. Regardless, impressive game from Daniel Jones. I just wanted to hit on that before I forgot. Um, why don't we keep it in the South? We just talked about the Colts. Um, Jaguars Panthers. Wow, that was a disgusting game. I'd say. I don't know if you
Mhm.
have any thoughts on that, but
Yeah, I would have liked to see more out of the Panthers. I think they're a team that I'm a little higher on than most people would be, because I just like what they're building there. With Bryce Young, but of course the defense still has a lot of holes, and those were exploited by the Jags, and they were able to pick up the win.
I think it was 26 to
So
10. So,
yeah, Panthers have some work to do. Another team that, even though they won, I still think they have a lot of work to do would be the Cincinnati Bengals. They
mm,
beat the Browns by 1 point. You know, that game, if the Bengals are a Super Bowl contender, they should not be beating the Browns by a game-ending interception. They should be blowing them out. So, what do you think of that?
to comment on both. For one, on the Jags game, I think the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, um, I think that by the way is the quarterback that really needs to perform of anybody this season if he wants to live up to that Clemson hype he had. But on the Browns comment, um, I think it says more about the Browns that they were that close than it is the Bengals because if you watched the end of that game, Joe Flacco had three, I think it was two or three interceptions off of receive where the receiver hit it with their hands and it bounced off and was caught by the defensive back. And Jerry Jeudy had a big fourth down conversion drop. Um, uh, their kicker Schmidt missed two, not only a PAT, but he missed a field goal too. That would have won them the game, and they were like 30 yards out. It was pretty close too. So just tons of mistakes from the Browns and that would have won them the game. Um, so the Bengals really just got lucky because they had no. I think it was 7. I heard 7. I don't know if it's completely accurate, but I heard 7 yards of total offense in the second half of that game, which is not a good sign.
Yeah.
And by the way, I want to shout out Dylan Sampson. He looked really good. Their rookie out of Texas. He looked fantastic on as a receiving back. He looked good on the run. So high hopes there for Cleveland fans, but obviously Cincinnati eked out a week 1 win. Um, oh man, this game was interesting. This is my favorite game. This is my favorite game of the weekend. I know it's going to be a controversial take, but Jets and Steelers,
Wow.
32-34. Um, Steelers just survive and get a win. Chris Boswell nails a 60-yarder at the end of the game. What do you think?
I thought it was a great game where both quarterbacks showed out. I was very skeptical, and I still am skeptical of those two quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers and Justin Fields. I'm not yet sold on Aaron Rodgers like a lot of people are. And since Justin Fields lost, his performance is kind of being forgotten about as well. But he performed well. Aaron Rodgers, of course, performed great. Um, and it's just a great game for Rodgers to go and show the Jets, as in his words, that I can still play football. He put up a great game. Obviously there's a 60-yard kick at the end, and then you look at the Jets drive. I mean, Fields did everything right on that fourth down. He found the wide open, well, not wide open, but open Garrett Wilson, and then of course Jalen Ramsey just pulls off an incredible play to seal the game for the Steelers with the deflection on the big hit. But I was really impressed by both quarterbacks. I think it was a big offensive game, which is very strange because those are two
Not
defensive.
not
Yeah,
offense teams.
yeah. When was the last time either of those teams put up over 30 points? It had to be a while,
The
and they
Jets,
just did it.
the Jets was a couple of years ago. The Steelers, it feels like it's been 10 years. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. And then they just both did it in one game. I mean, it's crazy. But yeah, that was a. It's not that I don't know. That's quite an interesting take that it's your favorite game of the week. I think there was definitely one that beat it. I said, yeah, it was definitely my second favorite game of the week. I really enjoyed it.
for
Um,
I know we're gonna move in a second here, but I want to say a couple things more on this. We talk about Justin Fields. I know you called me crazy last week with my Jets pick. I was like, I just something about Justin Fields screams to me that he is ready to perform. Like I just think he is. He feels like an NFL quarterback. I think that the being a Bears quarterback and then being a Steelers quarterback with an offense that just couldn't do anything, and that they had no faith in him, I think you were asking him to fail. I think giving him the Jets, a team that is centered around him, that for the first time I feel like is made for Justin Fields. They thrived. They scored 32 points. I know they lost, but they thrived. That offense was great. Reconnected him with Garrett Wilson. Team overall looked great. A couple things here I just wanted to make sure I hit on because I was doing some research ahead of this because I really wanted to talk about Justin Fields. He looked great at avoiding pressure. That Jets O line is bad, not very good, and he was avoiding sacks all game. Um, there was one really interesting stat here I found. I remember. Sorry, I was trying to pull that up. Um, Justin Fields in this game. threw a 73% completion percentage, which the last time he had a completion percentage that high was October 30th of 2022. It
Yes.
has been 3 seasons.
Yep.
Impressive. Three total touchdowns and no picks today. Just an impressive game overall from Justin Fields. And I'll give credit Aaron Rodgers too. Great game, 4 touchdowns. Calvin Austin had a fantastic catch towards the end zone. Great for him. But yeah, I'll let you go wherever you were going with that.
Yep. So another game that I would like to touch on would be the Raiders Patriots game. Um, you know, that those are two teams that have big question marks around them. Some people think they're playoff teams. Some people think they're, going to contend for the number one overall pick. I personally had the Patriots in the playoffs and the Raiders being a game behind them. So I had both of them being pretty good. And Geno Smith balled out. He had a very fantastic game. In that Chip Kelly offense, you can kind of expect that there's going to be some big offensive games for the Raiders. So I think that was a really good sign for them. As a Seattle fan who was able to see Geno Smith through the years, there's a lot of there are two sides to the Geno Smith coin. A lot of people think he's awful. He's a turnover machine and he's old. He's a waste of time for NFL teams. And other people think that he's a great quarterback who was stuck behind a bad offensive line. I'm on he was a great quarterback side. So, for him to have a good year, that's just going to prove the people on that side correct. And, he's had a pretty good opening game. And I'm going to be excited to see what else he can do in this offense.
I think the one comment I really want to make on this game. Oh, by the way, Brock Bowers went to the medical tent. I wanted to mention that before I forgot. So that's a big thing for their pass offense. But I want to mention the Patriots more than anything. I was concerned as a Drake May supporter. I wouldn't be like throwing, throwing towels up out the window and shit. But excuse me, it's twice. I gotta wash myself. But I wouldn't be throwing towels out the window and stuff. But uh, like Drake May just didn't look good under pressure. He looked flustered. He looked like he was all over the place. Pressure got to him. He'd step up in the pocket, throw a pick. Did it twice. I and they were bad picks too. Like they were not close, and that's not a mistake you can afford to make when you're in that close of a game, and you know that that type of game is going to be one that if you're fighting for a playoff spot, like people think they will be, you need to win that game. That's a game you need to win. So important loss there for the Patriots. I think there was one other 1 p.m. game. Am I correct on that? There was. I might be wrong on that.
Um,
Um,
yeah, the other one was the Giants and the
oh,
Commanders.
there's a reason
Yeah,
I forgot about that one.
yeah,
Uh,
very forgettable game.
I'll let you start on that.
Giants looked absolutely atrocious. They are, for some reason, I don't know why, they became really trendy in the last few weeks of the offseason. Like people are like, oh, they're going to go and make the playoffs. And I agree that they're better than
Their
one
record
of
will
the
probably show, but
yeah, because I think they have a great defense, but they have a issue at quarterback. They're not sure who their quarterback's going to be. Russell Wilson did not play well, but they have a really hard schedule. That's the problem. They have the hardest schedule in the NFL for the most part. So they're not going to. A team like that needs an easy schedule to have a chance. So they're in trouble. They did not look good, and the Commanders, went in, took care of business in the divisional game. Not much to say about them. They just went in and did their job. Didn't have to do anything crazy. But next week they're gonna have a much bigger test going and playing Green Bay. So we'll see what they look like on Thursday Night Football.
yeah, I don't have much to comment on Washington. They did kind of Washington things. Showed up. Jaden Daniels was kind of all right. He didn't have a nice spectacular game. Debo Samuel looked really good, I will say. He looked like he still had that speed in him that
Oh yeah,
49ers fans were saying he didn't have anymore.
yeah.
I
That's
question
the first
Kyle.
game I've seen from him. I've been impressed in a while.
I think I have questions more and more each week about Kyle Shanahan as a coach, but um, yeah, I mean, Debo Samuel looked great. The Giants, I could ramble for hours. I mean, I'm a Giants fan. I could ramble for hours about how bad that was, how bad of a team we look like. I'll keep it to this. I think the offensive line not being fixed in over a decade is going to continue to be the reason that we cannot succeed in this league because we continue to sign quarterbacks that depend on an offensive line for one reason or another, whether they're a running quarterback, whether they're an older quarterback who needs protection, whatever the case is, we need protection for our quarterbacks because they're not taking these big hits. They're not quarterbacks. They're not Joe Burrow sitting in the pocket taking 10 sacks and still performing. It's not happening. So if you want a team to succeed, you need to build an offensive line around them. So that's my take on it. Also, just start Jackson Dart. I don't even know why we bothered with Russell Wilson. I don't even say that as a knock on him, but just if we think we have something, I saw this take. If we think we have something with Jackson Dart, just throw him out there. Because we're not competing this season. What's the worst that's going to happen?
Hmm.
You just know what you have. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I think that wraps
now
up
to
1 p.m. So
yeah, now to touch on the 3 p.m. games. We had the Titans and Broncos. Very underwhelming performance from Bo Nix. Yes, the Broncos did pick up the win, but that those are the kinds of worries. I remember telling you about this last episode. I have worries about the Denver Broncos. I'm not fully sold on that team. And this first weekend kind of highlighted those concerns. How good really is this Broncos team? They won a lot of one-score games last year, and they were really bad. Well, they didn't win a lot of one-score games, but they were really bad against playoff teams. And that's the problem. They only beat one of them. It was the Green Bay Packers, and then of course the Chiefs when they were wrestling their starters. But um, I'm not sold on that team. And they barely beat the Titans. They did not look good offensively. Defensively, they held the Titans to 12 points, but Bo Nix has to look better. What did you think of that game?
I think as a okay, so I think there's two sides to this. I'll talk about the Broncos quickly first. I think Bo Nix is a quarterback that relies on having some sort of playmaker. Now, that's not an insult to him or a knock of how he plays, but his style kind of needs him to have somebody who can move with the ball because he doesn't move really. He's a pocket passer. And they don't. Cortland Sutton's getting older, and they don't really. Unless you're going to tell me Marvin Mims is going to be their elite playmaker, they lack that. They lack that offensive explosion. They really need something explosive in Denver. And I mean, Bo Nix missed a wide open Cortland Sutton on the left side of the field. I think they were just past the 30-yard line on the other side of the field, and he just missed him like completely. He would have been a touchdown, which would have sealed the game. But um, big, 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 big concerns, but not that bad from the Broncos and the Titans. Um, the offensive line's terrible. It's one of the worst in the league. That was bad. Cam Ward was on his back. It felt like every other down. Um, Cam Ward himself looked great. I know he had a couple mistakes, but first game he looked really good. He was throwing balls that should have been caught by Calvin Ridley. Wow, they were some bad drops. There's another one I think to a rookie. I don't remember his name, but there was a couple drops there. Titans could have won that game, but they just kept shooting themselves in the foot offensively. So not too much on that. Another game that just I noticed a trend. A lot of these 4 p.m.s were the defensive games, where 1 p.m.s were the offensive games here. Um, but like another defensive game, Seattle versus San Francisco. I know this one's gonna burn you a little bit to talk about, but um, I'll say this first before I let you go on your tangent. The 49ers looked lost, honestly, on offense and for most of that game. Like I feel like they just didn't know what to do because they lost George Kittle early, right? They lost George Kittle, who by the way is out on injured reserve for a couple weeks, so that's big for them.
Yeah.
Um, they're losing weapons. They don't have Samuel anymore. They don't have Kittle now. He's hurt. They have CMC, who is at this point is a day to day. I mean, we know all the stories and reports coming out. So who's left? I mean, Brandon Ayuk's hurt too, so they don't have any weapons. They have Jawan Jennings, who's hurt. So I'm concerned, even though they won, I'm concerned more about the 49ers than the Seahawks because the Seahawks started a new quarterback. They have a new, it feels like a new time over there now.
New OC, new quarterback,
It just feels new over there.
new
So
receiver.
and they played close to a division rival. I'm less concerned. And their defense generally, I know you're going to have a huge thing about Tariq Woolen, but their defense generally looked great. So,
Uh,
yeah, I'll let you.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks they did their job on defense all game. Christian McCaffrey was held to almost no yards on the ground. He averaged like 3 yards a carry. Obviously, through the air was a different story, but the run defense was great. The pass defense was good. Besides, of course, Tariq Woolen, you know, he had a chance to get 2 picks on the 49ers touchdown drive. Didn't get either of them. So there's big concerns there for Seattle. They need to start wondering, is this a guy we want to re-sign at the end of this year? I say no. Some people disagree. But yeah, the offense did not look that great with, the new quarterback of Darnold, the new OC of Clint Kubiak. They tried to get the run game going, and it really didn't pan out. And then you look at the 49ers side, again, pretty much the same thing. Good defense, bad offense. The offense was lost all day. Brock Purdy threw 2 interceptions and should have had more, if we're being quite honest. He got bailed out a couple times by, Tariq Woolen being drunk or coming onto the football field. But yeah, it was not a good game from either team offensively. But the defense, the 49ers, they have some great players. You look at guys like D. Winters, who they really like. I mean, Lenore, they might have lost some pieces, but I think the 49ers,
It was Charvarius Ward was the guy I was forgetting last week.
yeah, yeah.
They lost him.
So, yeah, but they lost Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw. They've lost all these guys, but they seem to slot guys in to take over. So I'm not too worried about the 49ers going forward as long as they can stay healthy. Health is a huge concern for them. Kittle with the injury, that's not going to be good. So they have some issues that they're going to have to work through. Not sure if they're going to be Super Bowl contenders this year, but they could still win 12 games, like I said, because they have such an easy schedule.
And what I mentioned, they also just released Jake Moody, by the way. They put him on waivers, so they just got
Jake
another
Moody.
kicker.
Yeah, he had a kick where he just straight up missed, and then he had another kick that got blocked. But yeah, it was a bad game for him.
Rough
But
weekend.
yeah,
I don't have too much to comment on in the other two afternoon games. The Rams and Texans felt like the game didn't happen, if that makes sense. There really just wasn't anything. The game ended pretty abruptly. I mean, Texans got a fumble recovery, or a fumble recovery. It was a drop pass. They got a fumble recovery, drove it down the field, and then the offense was stagnant, and then they fumbled it, and then the Rams got it and kind of just ended the game from there. 14-9 win for them. Nothing to write home about. Packers Lions, I'm sure people want to talk about. I know everyone's worried because Detroit looked bad, right? Give it time. You just put a new defensive coordinator in, a new offensive coordinator in. Dan Campbell's back on his own for the first time in a couple of years. Give it time. And they also didn't play their starters. Their starters have not played since January. Give it a little time. So just let it play out. If there's concerns next week, then I will sit here and give you my 2 cents on it. But I think the Packers just looked really good, and the Lions just need another week or two to adjust. Honestly,
so we saw the Rams and Texans game. That was a big surprise for a lot of people. A lot of people thought that Texans pass rush was going to have a field day with 80-year-old Matthew Stafford, but they really didn't. You know what I mean? The Rams held their ground, picked up a win. Good for them. Bad for all the other NFC West teams. The Seahawks were the only NFC West team to lose. So that division is looking very tough right now. A lot of people think that division is wide open for grabs. And the Rams, they really kind of solidified themselves as the favorites with a win over a team like the Texans. So, yeah, big game for them. You look at the Lions and Packers. I do have concerns about the Lions because, you had Frank Ragnow retire in the offseason. You lost a guy like Kevin Zeitler. That offensive line, there's two things, in my opinion, that have been the success of Detroit. It's the offensive line combined with Ben Johnson at OC. And, the Lions, yeah, it takes time to adjust to a new OC. But the difference between a team like the Seahawks that got a new OC is they upgraded at OC. The Lions, I think we can all agree, downgraded at OC. So, yeah, it'll get better, but I don't see a way that the new offense operates at the level that Ben Johnson had it operating. And now you have a worse offensive line. You're playing rookies, pretty much all rookies in the interior offensive line, plus Grant Glasgow, who's not a center. Well, he has played in the past, but he's out of position right now. Just that Lions offensive line is concerned. Goff did not look that great. The run, they could not get anything going with Jahmyr Gibbs. He had 10 catches for like 20 yards, which is like an insane stat line.
uncharacteristic.
Yeah,
Uncharacteristic.
that's like they were trying. They were trying
Everything.
to get him going, and they just could not.
They tried
Which is
everything, honestly. That
yeah.
team.
And the Packers, complete opposite. Fantastic game for them. Parsons did not play a whole lot, but when he was on the field, he tore apart, in my opinion, the best tackle in the league, Penei Sewell. So that was really impressive to see. Packers got to be feeling good right now.
Yeah, I mean, Packers look like the team to beat maybe in the NFC early, at least. So we'll have to see how that goes. But moving forward here, Sunday Night Football. Ravens, and Ravens and Bills. So I'm not gonna do this game justice by explaining what happened, although I will try. The Ravens up 40-25 with like 7 minutes left. I think it was. And then the Bills get a touchdown drive, get the ball back on a fumble from Derrick Henry, score again. Was they scored and then they
Okay.
missed the PAT and then they got a field goal? Is that what happened?
Okay, so they scored a touchdown to make it 40 to
32.
32. And then Derrick Henry fumbles.
Yeah.
Bills recover, score a touchdown to make it 40 to 38. Then they fail the 2-point conversion.
Right.
And then the
Yes.
Ravens win the ball
Yeah,
back.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Yes. So crazy, crazy. 22 points in the last quarter for Buffalo. Insane.
Yeah.
Josh Allen is Superman. I have many, many stats I could read off here. Normal day for him, it feels like 400. I think it's 424 total yards, maybe 414 around there. 390 through the air. He had, I think it's four total touchdowns. Um, two on the run, two passing. He was very accurate. The one stat I do want to talk about, he has not thrown multiple interceptions in a game in now 2 seasons. 2 seasons. So this narrative that he's an interception-prone quarterback just doesn't exist anymore.
That's what I
It's
was just about to say.
it's done. It's done.
Yeah. A
No
couple
picks
years ago,
tonight.
that was his biggest. Some people didn't even have him in the top five because of that. I remember there was a time where I even felt this was around the time that the Bills were coming off of a loss to the Bengals in the playoffs, and it kind of looked like they were really falling apart. And I was like, I don't think Josh Allen's a top five quarterback because, he can't take care of the football. This is when he had some of the most turnovers in the league. But obviously the last couple of years, it's almost like as the Bills have changed, so has Josh Allen. The Bills were once, seen as an explosive team with a lot of great receivers. You have Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis back when he was good, and you're just like, okay, this is an explosive down the field type offense, and that has not been the case with the Bills. You know what I mean? They're relying on guys like Keon Coleman, you know, because they've
Short,
lost all
short,
those.
short catches, make plays after the catch.
Yeah, and I mean Allen is Allen's taking care of the ball now, and it's really impressive. But yeah, just what a game. You have the when the Bills are down 15 and it's 4th and 3, you have that play where they throw it over the middle, it gets deflected off the hands of someone down the middle and lands right in the hands of Keon Coleman for a touchdown. That was insane. The only reason, one of the many only reasons they were even in the game. And then you see Derrick Henry fumble. I could not believe that. You don't see that. He was having a fantastic game. I don't think he had 200 yards, but he was
Close,
close,
186, I think.
something like that. Just an incredible game for him, and then he fumbles it, and the Bills get the ball back, score, and they don't get the 2 point. And so, okay, now the Ravens are in control again, but they really don't give Lamar a chance to move the chains. Lamar played a great game all night, but after he scored a touchdown to put them up 40-25, he didn't really touch the football again. You know what I mean? It was all because then on the next drive, Henry fumbles, and then the next drive, they're trying to drain the entire clock away. So 4th and 3 in their own territory. If they get the first down, they end the game. But the alternative option and the one they went for was to punt the ball back to Josh Allen. And
It's the difference in coaching, and I was about to mention that to you. Harbaugh versus Harbaugh coaching, because Jim went for it on 4th and 3. John did not, and we saw which one ended up with a win.
yeah, well, the other one got aggressive on a 3rd and long, but yeah, very similar situations. But I think it's interesting because a few years ago, there was someone who brought up this game, and I was glad to see someone else bring it up, because I was almost wondering if I was dreaming this game because I haven't heard anyone talk about it, but it does exist. There was a game a few years ago between the Ravens and Chiefs where it was 4th and 1. Ravens were in their own territory, and and this was before like Dan Campbell. You know what I mean? This was 5 years ago. This was back when going for it on 4th down was super unconventional. Nobody ever did it, but the Ravens got ballsy, and on 4th and 1, they went for it, got the first down, ended the game, beat the Kansas City Chiefs. 4th and 1 is different than 4th and 3, but where's the aggression? Where was the aggression Sunday night that we saw
Especially,
out of them in that game and past games as well? They've always been aggressive, most of the time, but that was one of the cases where they were not.
especially against an offense that was just clicking on every cylinder at that point in the
Exactly.
game.
You should know
uncharacteristic.
if you're punting the ball to the Bills, they're gonna score some points.
Especially if
Um,
they're on a run. You have to have them down if you're going to be doing that, but they just weren't.
yeah, I at the time I was kind of 50-50 on the call. Obviously, with hindsight, it's easier to say,
That was
you
the
should
wrong
have
move.
gone for it.
But
But yeah, it's what do you think of it?
showdown. It was exactly what I expected it would be for Sunday Night Football. So I'm happy with that game. They will play again, I'm sure, in the playoffs. I would bet money on it almost. I'm not going to, but I would. Uh,
Yeah,
so again, great game. One more game to cover real quick. Bears Vikings. I actually don't have much to say on this game, only because it felt like a very Bears Vikings game. Nothing like happened of substance. Just the score was kind of in that 20s range. Bears looked good early. They, I don't know. JG McCarthy turned into Superman in the last third of the fourth quarter. He decided he was going to play football, and then they scored and caught up and won the game late. So, I mean, good for JJ. That's the one takeaway I have here. I don't have a concern about the Bears, which is why I'm not talking about them. I just think it's a normal Bears division game. But JJ McCarthy being able to have all these mistakes and still show up in the fourth quarter and with with all the pressure in his face on his first start and perform and then win the game, impressive. I'm not sold on him. Let's not jump ahead of ourselves. I'm not sold on that at all. But it was impressive to see him get into the game and just you know finish the deal.
yeah. So something about that game is the Bears were atrocious on offense. The game looks closer than what it was. The Bears were not good on offense. One of their touchdowns was from a pick six. They scored on the opening drive, but after that, they didn't. They really didn't have anything. As at one point, they were in negative yards for almost the entire second half, and then they had that drive at the end to score the touchdown. But um, it was not a good game at all for the Bears offensively, and Caleb Williams had some unbelievable throws. I mean, he's going to be so good. Here's a hot take. I believe that he will be better than Jaden Daniels by the end of their careers. Some people probably think that's ridiculous, but Caleb Williams is more talented. I have no doubt about that. His arm talent, some of the throws that he can make are just there's something we see out of a guy like Aaron Rodgers. He has the arm talent of Aaron Rodgers. He has the mobility of a guy. I draw conclusions with him to Aaron Rodgers. He has that same mobility in the pocket. He has that that arm. Just I love what I see out of Caleb, but he
Be
has a lot of
careful.
development
You
to
you
go.
might give PTSD to a Bears fan.
Yeah, I was about to say it's kind of a
Sensitive subject.
it is it's a sensitive subject talking about how good Aaron Rodgers is, but I think Caleb Williams looks very similar to a guy like that who can sling it, has some mobility as well. Caleb's faster than Rodgers probably was, but the Vikings, good game for them. I was a little worried at first, but they shut down the Bears after that first drive, and that was kind of the deciding factor of the game. Vikings really took over from the second quarter onwards. Um, after that pick six, I'd say the pick six looked really bad, and then after that, the Vikings kind of got it together and were able to turn it around and pick up the win. Um, so
Just an
obviously,
eventful. Yeah.
yeah, obviously, I have concerns about the Vikings. I don't think it's a perfect team. I think relying on a rookie quarterback, well, not a rookie quarterback, but
You know what I mean.
we can agree he's basically a rookie. He's never actually started in the NFL until last night. So, relying on a rookie quarterback to lead you to a 15-2 season again, or at least lead you to the playoffs, is going to be tough. So, I think they're going to have a lot to work through this year. There's going to be a lot of highs, a lot of lows, but they have a great roster. It's just going to come down to how McCarthy plays.
I agree. We will continue to move along here, though. So, real quickly before we move on to the college section, which I actually don't have much to talk about on there, which is why we ran a little long here. But um, week 2 for the NFL, I'm just going to quickly kind of give my predictions. I'll try and sum it up in a minute and a half, 2 minutes ish. Commanders play the Packers this week. Give me the Packers. I think they're a more complete team right now at this moment over the Commanders. I think the Commanders lack defense. Giants, Cowboys, flip a coin. I don't really care. Just give me Dallas because I think they're maybe a little bit better on offense compared to the Giants defense. Seahawks Steelers play. I think that'll actually be a really fun game, but give me Pittsburgh. They look really good right now. I know it's 1 week, but they look good. Um, Rams, Titans, I'm going to take the Rams. Not much to comment there. Bills, Jets, I think that'll be a fun game, but I'm going to take the Bills. I know the Jets will be floating with that 0-3 mark. You don't want to be there, but give me the Bills. They'll go 2-0. Patriots, Dolphins, another division game. Um, I think the Patriots are going to actually lose this game. I think Miami's going to take one back. I think they're going to take some of their pride back this week. Um, hopefully. The Jaguars play the Bengals. Uh, just give me the Bengals, but I think again it's gonna be really close, and I could see the Jaguars stealing that game. 49ers, Saints. I don't care, but give
A
me the
lot of
40.
people are going to pick the Saints in this one with all the 49ers injuries.
I'm gonna say the 49ers. I'm not sold on that.
I agree.
Um, Ravens, Browns. I know that the Browns play the Ravens close. Just give me Lamar and the Ravens. They need to get back win after Sunday night. Bears, Lions. That should be interesting with Ben Johnson. I think he's actually returning to Detroit for this game. So yeah, that'll
Yeah,
be
it's in
fun.
Detroit.
Uh, but yeah, I think the Lions will bounce back. I do think they'll win this game. Broncos versus the Colts. Give me the Broncos. I know the Colts just had a fantastic game. Pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah,
The Miami Dolphins defense is not historically great. Panthers, Cardinals. Give me the Cardinals. They're just the more well-rounded team. Eagles, Chiefs. I know everyone's excited for this game. I actually don't have high hopes. I think the Eagles defense and the Chiefs off. I just don't think it's a good mesh. I think this game will be kind of low scoring, but give me the Eagles, which will put the Chiefs in dangerous territory.
yeah,
Falcons, Vikings. I'm gonna take the Falcons because I think they looked really good week one, and I think the Vikings are gonna be inconsistent. Bucks, Texans. The Bucks have more of an offense, and the Texans have more of a defense. I'm leaning the I'm leaning Buccaneers, and then Chargers and Raiders. I'm going to go with the Chargers, although I think that'll be a close game because it's a division game.
yep. So I agree with all of your takes except for a few of them. The three that I'm thinking of are the Bucks, Texans. I have a hard time seeing the Texans go 0-2. I just think
You could go
they're a
either
solid.
way. You could go
Yeah,
either
I
way.
can go. I think they're very evenly matched, but it's in Houston, and I think that there's more fire in their belly after losing a game. I think they're going to come in and win that game. Same logic applies to the Chiefs and Eagles game. It's in Kansas City, and I have a hard time seeing the Chiefs losing back-to-back games. The Eagles have had their number for a couple years now. They beat them in the Super Bowl. They beat them in the regular season a couple years ago. You could argue they should have beat them in their first Super Bowl matchup in 22. So the Eagles have had their number. I think the Chiefs are finally going to get them back and win. And the other game I disagree with, kind of the same logic as the first two, is that Seahawks Steelers game. I have a hard time seeing the Seahawks go
Yeah.
0-2. It hasn't really happened in a long time. They're always super consistent, and they very rarely do they have a record like 0-2 and end up losing back-to-back games. Usually, they recover from a week like this. And I think honestly, I think we're gonna see. I think they're gonna let Darnold sling it next week.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're gonna have like a near 30-point game, like each
Yeah,
way. So
because when they let Darnold sling it on the last drive of the 49ers game, he and Jason marched right down the field, and if it weren't for Nick Bosa being Nick Bosa, they probably win that game. So, I think next week they're going to be a lot more free offensively, and that's going to help them a lot. So, yeah, I agree with you on most stuff. Just a couple games that I see going the other way, but they're all close games. I don't fully disagree with you on any particular game in week two.
Um, so yeah, those are our picks going into this week. I don't have anything I really need to see. It's still early in the season, so we'll see how we'll have more concerns probably after next week than anything else. In other football news in the college world, or in now the college world, uh, man, there was just not a game that I could really point at this week that was all that exciting. That left me sitting there at my TV. Every team that was supposed to win won, basically, except Oklahoma just beat
Michigan.
Michigan. It's like that was confusing to me. Good for them.
Yeah.
It's a good win for them. And okay, I made a promise with my graphic creator that if I would talk about USF, the South Florida Bulls, if they managed to beat Florida. They did. So here it is. They looked really good actually. I know they won it on a field goal at the end of the game, but I will credit them. Florida is a very good team. It's an SEC team. They are playing an SEC team, and they just straight up beat them. That's impressive. They beat Boise State week one, so now they have two ranked wins. They're ranked, I think. I think they were 18th or something
Yeah,
like
they're
that.
ranked. They're literally
They're
ranked. That's
ranked,
insane.
so good for them. I don't think this run will last, but good for them. I'm happy to see that another Florida team is striving, um, but keeping it in Florida. FSU. They
Yeah,
won, what was it, 77-3?
something along those
It
lines.
was
There's a
disgusting.
couple blowouts this
There
weekend.
was bad ones. Oklahoma beat Gambling State by like
Ohio
70 to,
State, yeah,
huh?
70-0
Yeah,
against Grambling.
yeah, that was a rough game. I think Bama won by like, I don't know, like 70 or 60 something.
They won by a good amount.
They won a
Oregon
lot.
won, but we don't talk about that game.
69-3. It's
Yeah,
a
but that didn't happen. A game I will touch on though is um, Clemson had to come back
dude, that's
in
they look
second week.
scary. They look scary bad.
Yeah, like it's not good. They had to come back from 16-7. I think they were down at half. They had to come back, and they did end up winning, but they do not look good right now. I do have worries, and if we look ahead to next week, they play Georgia Tech, which is a team that
Can
is
upset teams.
they can upset teams. You know what I mean? We saw them. They upset FSU last year.
They almost
They played
almost
closer
beat
to
Georgia.
Georgia. Yeah, I
Almost
mean
beat
they're
Georgia.
Georgia Tech's
What
a
was it?
sneaky good
Eight?
team.
What was it? 8 overtimes they had in
Yeah,
that one game.
actually,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
exactly. I'm actually gonna make a prediction. I do think that they beat Clemson this week.
I don't think that's
It's in
crazy.
Georgia. It's in Georgia. Yeah, it's not when you actually look at it, it's not crazy. But yeah, do you want to make some predictions for this upcoming week?
Um, Real quickly, I want to just hit on two other things that happened this past week. I'll be quick though. LSU, I'm a little concerned. I know they won and they won pretty commandingly. I'm still a little concerned. They should have probably won more than they did, but we'll see how that goes going into next week. And the other team I wanted to really quickly hit on is oh my God, Penn State. Being a Nittany Lion myself, I wanted to make sure I touch on my own team, and they look good, but again, they're beating schools that they should be beating. So I'm a little nervous going a couple weeks away because I know they play Oregon soon. So we'll see how they look. But then I'm not sold on James Franklin still. So we'll see what they look like by the time they get there. But there's a clear couple growing pains defensively. Oh, and sorry, one more game. Arizona State. They almost got off the hook. Who did they lose to? I think they lost to what was it? Mississippi State? Think so, or I think
I don't
it was
exactly.
Mississippi or Massachusetts, one of the two. Either way, that's not a game they should be losing. So them losing that game if they want to win the Big 12 is disgusting. That was bad. That was rough.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
they were feeling losing Camp Scatterbo, and I know. I was talking to my friend about this. It was rough because they came back from like 17-0, got all the way up there, and then their defense gave it up on the final drive, and they lost. So that's just
Yeah,
rough. That sucks. But
yeah.
here, you read to me. What's on the week 3 slate? Let's look
All
ahead.
right. So yeah, we have Clemson, Georgia Tech. I have Georgia Tech upsetting Clemson.
I'm
What do you think of
agreeing.
that
I'm
game?
agreeing. I don't even have to disagree with you. I think Clemson looks terrible, and I think Cade Klubnik. Wow, Cade Klubnik really needs to step it up
Yeah, I know you're
because
not high on him, but so the game of the week is going to be Georgia at Tennessee. Who do you see taking that one? I
that's
think
not
Georgia. I think Georgia's going to take him down
that
pretty commandingly.
that's not
Um,
much of a game, honestly. I think Tennessee not having as good of a quarterback situation as they probably want to leads me to just take Georgia. I don't think this will be as close of a game as people think it will be. I know they're
yeah,
ranked and they've won 2 games straight, but give me Georgia.
it is the best game of the week, though, probably.
Eh,
But
That's a low bar.
yeah. Well,
Early
let's take a look
college
at
season.
another. Yeah, let's take a look at another game. This is a really interesting game. We were just talking about South Florida. They go on to take they're taking on Miami.
That is
Frank
probably the game, and that's probably a game of the
that
week. That
that is yeah, that's
that
gonna be tough. Miami is on upset alert, but
they've
South
looked
Florida's down. hard time taking them.
Miami looks good, but I'm not convinced. I'm not sold on that team not having Cam Ward. I know they look good, but I need to see a consistent season out of this team for me to know that the program is back to the way they were all those years ago.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
um,
I'm gonna take Miami in that game. Um,
do I
um,
really think South Florida? You know what? No, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take South Florida. I'm gonna take the
oh
upset
man,
only because I think it's gonna be a close game. But I'm gonna take the upset only because I don't trust Miami. I don't think they have not been a consistent school since early 2000s. I need them to have a consistent season for me to be able to believe it. So give me the upset. Give me the South Florida Bulls. They're going 3-0. They're moving up in the rankings. College playoff bound for sure.
at that point, yeah. I mean,
Maybe, but no, yeah.
um,
I'll take the Bulls.
all right, yeah. I disagree, but it could go either way, I guess. Two other games that I want to touch on before we wrap it up. We have Texas A&M going into Notre Dame. This could be a tough game for Notre Dame. Playing an SEC school. Historically we see them typically drop these games in the regular season, but I think that this one they're going to be able to get. I don't think A&M's quite as strong as
Well,
people might think they are. Um,
yeah.
but it's a big game for them because you cannot lose to an independent school if you're an SEC team. And it's a big game for Notre Dame because if you're an independent school, you have to win out or maybe lose one game throughout the year. So big game for both of them. I see Notre Dame picking that one up though.
Uh, I agree. I think Notre Dame just is a more consistent school that I'm gonna take here. I don't actually have much to comment on for it, but I thought worth mentioning them. No other games that I really think are terribly exciting. I think most of the other schools that should win will win. Texas, Ohio State playing pretty simple schools. Penn State's playing an easy schedule this week. Oregon, a bunch of those schools probably should win their games. Um, I want to mention the one last game. It's an SEC game, and this will be an important game I think towards the playoffs when we get there. Florida versus LSU.
Yeah, that's what I was going to touch on.
I want your pick first because I think I know what I'm thinking.
So I think LSU is, of course, on upset alert. They have to be because Florida's still a good team, even though they aren't ranked anymore. But I do see LSU taking this one. I just think they're overall a better school right now, a better football team. I just think and again it is in Death Valley, so
Are
it's going to be a tough game for
are,
Florida.
are
I
you
think
on the
LSU.
Nest bus?
Yep, I am.
You're on the Nest bus.
I have to. I think they're better. I just think
Garrett,
they are.
Garrett Nussmeyer. No, yeah, fair enough. I'm gonna take Florida because I'm high on that school. But if LSU wins, wouldn't shock me. Um, it's probably gonna be a like 34-31, or it's gonna be that, or it's gonna be like a 17-14 game. I have no idea. It's gonna be one of those two. It'll be a close game though. Give me Florida, and I think that'll put the Gators back on the ranking. I think LSU will drop towards the bottom of the top 25 just because it'll be an early loss. So we'll see though. I think we have a couple games to keep our eye on, especially in the NFL, some in college. So it'll be an interesting week for football. But unless you have any closing thoughts here,
Nope,
yeah.
that's it for me.
So yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in to our second football edition of Sideline to Speedway. I've been your host again, Mekhi Winfrey, joined by Parker Merrey as usual. Next week we'll be coming to you post week 2 football, post week 3 of college, and give you our thoughts once again, similar time. So thank you guys so much for stopping by, and we will hopefully see you on the next podcast.
Yes, thank you.